The content of Kingdom of Healing with Kimberly Mateo, powered by 710 Radio, is intended for general information purposes only. It is not designed to provide listeners with specific and personal medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional services, or any advice. The programs are not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Individuals with health problems should always consult their healthcare provider for professional medical advice, medications, and/or treatments. Kingdom of Healing also does not promote anyone's individual practices, programs, agendas, particular treatments, healthcare programs, providers, hospitals, and/or medical centers. The views expressed by show host and their guests are their own and shall not be construed in any way as advice from Kingdom of Healing. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, or editors will always be presented as such. We encourage you to always seek professional advice or care for any problems which you may have. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to the Kingdom of Healing or 710 Radio or the show hosts whose words and or opinions appear from or on this radio show.
Live on iHeartRadio, powered by 710 Radio. This is the Kingdom of Healing with Kimberly Mateo. So grab you a pen and a paper, kick your feet up, and get ready for some serious knowledge to be dropped on you. Because Kimberly Mateo is a nationally certified naturopath, master herbalist, iridologist, a nutritionist, and a holistic healer since 1977. She shares 35 plus years of knowledge and experience to listeners who are interested in learning and overcoming health challenges naturally. So without further delay, here is the host of your show, Kimberly Mateo.
Hi, thank you for joining me today on Kingdom of Healing. This is Kimberly Mateo, and I'm a traditional naturopath and a master herbalist. And that training years ago also included aromatherapy as well as reflexology and homeopathy and a lot of things related to healing totally naturally. So hope that what I share with you helps you and your family. And today I'd like to talk about allergies. You know, there's just so much going on with, it seems like everybody I talk to, everybody you see, something's going on. You know, we've had so much rain, and in Colorado, we had snow for Mother's Day morning, but it was gone by afternoon, like typical Colorado day. But yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, we're just in that season where things are starting to bloom. A lot of the that constant rain that's been going on across the country, you know, is just stirring a lot of things up, and it's triggering a lot of asthma, and that's really, you know, is one way to make you feel helpless and put you in a panic. And, you know, those are the feelings that everybody goes through when they're going through an asthma attack. It's, you know, it's scary for the person having the attack as well as the parents and the family. So during the asthma attack, one thing that happens is the muscles surrounding the bronchial passages in the lungs constrict, and then that interferes with the outflow of stale air, and it causes a feeling of suffocation to the victim. Typically, symptoms of asthma include a feeling of tightness in the chest and difficulty breathing, and that's often a lot of times accompanied with wheezing and coughing. So, with asthma on the rise, you know, it's estimated that there's 18.9 million Americans as of 2013 that have been diagnosed.
Wow.
So with the diagnosis like that on the rise, There's a lot of things that people can do from the plant kingdom. The other thing is, they're seeing that it is pointing to a link between the increased air pollution and a lot of other irritants that make their way into the lungs. So, Mexico City has the most heavily air polluted city in the world. Is Mexico City?
Really?
Yeah.
Even compared to like China?
Yeah, China, you see these people all cruising around with, masks over their face, and the air just looks like light charcoal.
Right.
So that is surprising that as of 2013, Mexico City was highest level of air pollution in the world. 50% of the children in Mexico City are asthmatic.
Wow, that's a lot.
50%. So, respiratory disorders they're often unpredictable, and that's what makes them really intimidating. I mean, when your child comes to you and they can't breathe and they're gasping for air, I mean, your average person is just in a panic to figure out what to do.
Right.
And I go for the lobelia essence, and a half a dropper of that in their mouth, and they are drawing a breath and breathing within a matter of seconds.
Just on their tongue, or?
Yeah, just in their mouth or under their tongue.
Under the tongue.
Yeah, if you can get it under the tongue, squirt a half a dropper of lobelia essence, and it gets them breathing. And my friend had an incident with her husband. It was probably about 6 years ago, and she heard him fall into the wall. And by the time she got to him, he was dying. He couldn't breathe, and right next to the cabinet where he had fallen, there was a bottle of peppermint oil.
Uh-huh.
And the only thing that she could think of was to dump the peppermint oil on her fingers. And she said she was shaking that bottle and peppermint oil was coming out, and she crammed her fingers down his throat and got that peppermint all the way, down to the back of his throat. And she said he immediately drew in air.
Wow.
What had happened was he passed a blood clot and it went to his lung.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So she was able to get him breathing with peppermint crammed down his throat on the ends of her fingers, and with the oil all over her fingers, and it saved his life. Literally saved his life. If she would have just panicked and screamed and grabbed the phone and called 911 and tried doing mouth to mouth or something, that she probably would have lost him.
Wow.
And so he totally recovered from that. But so that's another thing to have on hand is the peppermint oil and the essential oil. So lobelia immediately, what it does is it immediately dilates the bronchioles so that you're able to breathe in. Plus it gathers poisons is one thing that lobelia does.
Okay.
And it's also the king of the nervine herbs. So it's a relaxant. And when you go through such a spasm and the inflammation that's going on, lobelia is a way to clear the obstructions, gather the toxins, and expel them. I mean, you'll get coughing them up. Plains Indians called lobelia pukeweed. So it is something that will bring everything up if you suspect that, you ate something bad or, provided, depending upon what it is, if you think your child ingested something, some things you want them to bring back up, and other things you want to use charcoal. You want to administer charcoal as quickly as you can if if it's something that the poison control says do not have, ingest vomiting. And so charcoal is another good thing to have on hand around your house, so that in the event of it gathers toxins as well and binds them into the charcoal. So, but there's other things too I'll talk about in a minute that you can use with asthma. But they find that when you're experiencing this breathlessness, which can come out of suddenly, during periods of stress, anxiety, exercise, low blood sugar symptoms, when that blood sugar drops. A lot of times, Americans consume too much sugar, and that exhausts the adrenal glands.
Okay.
And the adrenal glands have a lot to do with, stress and adrenal fatigue with asthma attacks. And, what sugar does is it not only robs the calcium, which then throws the magnesium out of balance, and magnesium's the relaxant. So as soon as that sugar disrupts the calcium levels in the bones, that throws actually all the minerals out of balance. So, that high consumption of sugar, when your body uses that up, it usually, a lot of times, if you go too long of a period of time in between eating, you'll have that drop where, all of a sudden you feel like the top of your head is real tingly. And then you start feeling like you're losing, your blood is just draining from the top of your head down. That is a blood sugar attack. And you actually need protein at that point. It's better to put some, turkey, cheese, something like that. A lot of times they say orange juice. I mean, you can do some juice, but to stabilize it, you need protein. Okay, so that helps to stabilize that blood sugar so that you're not craving it all the time. So sometimes intense laughing can trigger an asthma attack. Changes in the temperature, if it's too dry or it's too damp, and that's, I think, what we're seeing right now is it's too damp. There's too much moisture, and for the most part, the air is still pretty cool. It's hard to believe that we're, tomorrow's June 1st, and this weather is.
Right, we've only had like 4 days of sunshine this month.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see the sun again. It's crazy. It was just like crazy. It was like it's almost like we were in the Pacific Northwest. But it's also stirring up with that rain. A lot of the pollen. Everything's still blooming and growing in spite of.
Yes.
The lack of us seeing the sun. They're still picking up on the UVs, so they're still growing. But, asthma attacks can last from, a matter of a handful of seconds, minutes, to hours. Some people deal with them daily. Some people deal with them every once in a while during particular seasons. So, everyone's lungs react to irritants, and they process the inflammation and the swelling. There's a lot of mucus production and coughing. These are ways that, the lungs react and respond to trying to purge that from the lungs. So there are things that will exaggerate and cause, like a hyperactive reaction to a lot of irritants. So swelling and inflammation in the lung tissue, that ends up triggering spastic reactions in the lungs, which further constrict the airways. So again, at the onset of something like that lobelia essence is something to have on hand. I used it one time with a little one, really not quite a toddler yet, but she'd had her whooping cough vaccine. And it was about 2 weeks later, she was back in to see the doctor because, she couldn't quit coughing. And when she coughed, she'd just like fall backwards. And the doctor insisted that it did not come from the vaccine. This was in 85. That it did not come from the vaccine. And that, she'd been exposed to it some other way. So they just, recommended medication and sent her on their way, and then they stopped by our house. And my son Danny was about 2 months older than this little girl, and here she is down on the floor playing with his toys and stuff, and starts coughing and then falls back on the floor and starts turning color. Man, I grabbed her up off that floor and went flying into the kitchen and pulled out of the cabinet the lobelia, and I didn't even ask her parents. I mean, it was like, whoa, this is serious right now this second. And I put that lobelia, I just pinched in the top of that dropper and let it go as I was unscrewing the bottle, and just put it right in her mouth. And she started breathing. And the parents had really kind of been non-believers. They were pretty amazed at what they witnessed with their eyes, and so I sent her with the lobelia so that she had it on hand because she was going to need it. She was going to need it. So, but the little one, she recovered from it, but. So it is very serious, and you do have to react very, very quickly. So I'm not kidding you. That lobelia essence is really something to have on hand. And for ordering, right now I'm working on, having my website built. But, I was kind of looking around on that website, kingdomofhealing.com, and I think it can be a little difficult to maneuver on. So the things that I talk about on Kingdom of Healing, I would suggest that, if you're making notes and you write something down, then type that product into the search bar.
Right.
And that seems to be the way that you get to it.
Yes. That's how I get to it.
That's how you get to it?
Yeah, it's the search bar.
Just the search bar. And then it shows when you drop those things into your cart, it as you start to check out, it asks if you want to become, a member and get a discount. And that's the way that you get the herbs at direct wholesale cost. Okay, so I think that when you look at the product, when you drop it into your cart, it gives the retail price in bold, and then in a little bit lighter shading, it shows what the direct wholesale is. So it's to your advantage to do that. And
right, because there is a difference between those two prices.
And some stuff is a considerable difference. So I just want you to know that opportunity is there, that you can, that you can just type what the product is into the search bar. Then you'll see that there's two different prices. Kind of scroll down to where you see the products that are offered. And so when you see that retail price, you'll see that direct wholesale price. So like I said, when you're checking out, if you go down towards the bottom of the page, it will ask if you want to be a member. So a $40 order gets you a free membership.
Right.
People get memberships at Costco and Sam's Club and stuff like that. So
right, just purchase two. It
two
could
or
be
three
a couple
products,
of products,
yeah.
and you could be a member, and it's worth it to become a member.
Exactly. So that then when you call in, they identify you by your telephone number, and they know who it is, and so you can also then order online with the number that they give you, member number. So really, I can't encourage you enough to have every house with children should have lobelia essence on hand, and keep it up high. It's not something that you want them to have a risk of getting into because they won't be keeping things down if they get into that. They'll just sleep. It's not poison, but it's certainly their tummy won't feel good. So used wisely and cautiously, and when needed, it is an excellent an excellent herb to have on hand.
Especially for the asthma.
Yes. There's a lot of food allergies too, and that can trigger asthma, as well as, with the pollen, dander, smoke, cold air. Some people get asthma attacks with excessive exercise. There's mites and molds and just all kinds of stuff that's inside your house. And then a lot of people are allergic to dairy, and, like strawberries is a big one. All those symptoms of bloating and misery that you're having after you consume grains, those are allergy reactions. So,
okay.
yeah, so, once you eliminate all that stuff, and during certain seasons of the year, it's really important to have good air purification in your home. And so I've talked about that before, the water and the air. And, the water machine, the alkaline water machine is $8.95. They have another new model that it's a little more expensive, but I think it does more water purification. The alkaline water machine is not necessarily a water purifier. It's a water alkaliner,
Okay.
alkalizer. So, you need to have some pre-filters that you run that water through. And so they do sell a 3, pretty good size, maybe 18 inches tall, that are a series of 3 pre-filters that your water goes through. So it's purifying it, it's cleaning it up, and then it goes through the alkaline water machine, and then that brings your alkaline level up in your water. Then they have an air purifier. That alkaline water machine runs $8.95, and the air purifier, and this is really a season where you need to have those air purifiers going, and it runs $2.99, and it is an amazing unit. I paid $1,500 for my air purifiers.
Whoa.
Yeah, so this does a bigger amount of square footage, and it has a lot of the things that the units that I purchased have. This unit here it's just as good, if not better, and it's $2.99.
Wow.
So
they've come a long ways.
Yeah, jeez. So, and amazingly enough, women who have a tendency to have asthma, there's a higher percentage of women who are estrogen dominant that experience more asthma attacks than women who are hormonally balanced. So, if you've got symptoms of, an excess of estrogen where like the breasts hurt and are tender a lot of the times, that's one of the first signs of estrogen dominance with women. And the best way to keep that into balance is there's a product called Pro-G Yam Cream. And there's 2 different ones. There's a 5 milligram one that is, that's okay for younger women, teens through their mid-30s. Then as you start to get a little bit older, you need the higher potency one. So there's 2 different ones. So just remember that the 5 milligram one is for, say, 17 to 35.
Okay.
And then the stronger one for older women. But that's a good way to immediately start working on getting that estrogen into balance, because that's a real high risk factor for cancer is all those years of being estrogen dominant. So, and things that are very common in your life that add to that is the xenoestrogens. The drinking beverages out of plastic and styrofoam, and microwaving liquids in styrofoam. All those chemicals that are the little chemical slick that's on the top of whatever the beverage is when it's in, even pouring something really hot into a styrofoam cup has that, looks like a grease slick on top of it. Well,
Right.
it's chemical slick. It's chemicals that are being released immediately from that styrofoam, and those are xenoestrogens. And it's another reason why, there's so much breast cancer, female reproductive organ cancer, as well as breast cancer is, pretty up there with men.
Right. Oh, yeah.
In
today's age.
Yeah,
it's kind of amazing how many men.
It's the xenoestrogens, and look at all of the wrappers that they wrap the fast food up with. There's xenoestrogens there.
Wow.
There is, people having, they buy French fries, and they're cooked in genetically modified corn oil or canola oil, and then they're hot and greasy, and they're put into little paper foldable little container, to put the French fries in, and that stuff's all leaching out onto that food when the fries aren't any good anyway for you, and the oil is not good for your health at all.
Well, one good thing about today's age of the information highway, and people starting to take control of their own health, it has started to make an impact on, like, fast food restaurants. Man, you're starting to hear all these guys. Okay,
they're changing their menus up,
taking ingredients out.
Yeah, Taco Bell just announced.
Taco Bell, Subway was another one that
Yeah.
took the bread softener out.
Right.
That was the same thing that they used
Bromides.
for yoga mats, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. So even McDonald's is taking a huge, huge hit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, some of that stuff on YouTube, the chicken nuggets thing is just, my
disgusting.
my 9-year-old granddaughter, if she sees kids consuming food like that, she'll cruise right on up to them and have a talk with them and direct them to YouTube. She's been doing that for a couple of years since she was about 7.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, you can't eat that. You keep eating that, and it's not going to be good. It doesn't make any sense. Didn't even make any sense to a 7-year-old.
Well,
So,
good for her.
So that's really something to take a look at. Drink out of glass. Eat on glass plates.
Almost definitely.
Cook in stainless steel. And I'm going to, talk a little bit here about, the dangers in your cookware. I've been talking that one for a long time, so I'm glad to see it getting out there in information. Those Teflon pans and aluminum pans, it's like even cast iron. You shouldn't be preparing meals in those type of utensils, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Stress, adrenal fatigue, licorice root. That is an amazing herb for blood sugar, also with helping with asthma, because by way of, it helps with asthma by way of supporting the adrenal glands. So licorice root and vitamin C, and B5 is pantothenic acid. That is just really good food for the adrenal glands and to keep them healthy and strong. So some of the things that you can find on Kingdom of Healing that is beneficial immediately is by taking, there's a product called Histoblock. And, that is something that stabilizes what's called the mast cells, and helps with, that histamine. With the, it helps to dry up the congestion in the sinuses by counteracting histamine. So it's similar to, like a prescription anti-allergenic, to be more specific with it. So the histamine produces swelling in the mucous membranes that lead to a lot of the swelling, not being able to oxygenate, your eyes itching, your eyes watering, your nose running, your ears bothering you, intestinal problems. So it's really, it's a good all-around product as well to have on hand, the Histoblock product, because it's if you've got a lot of allergies or sensitivities, that is a good one to have on hand, so that in the event that you're needing to grab something really quick, you have that kind of along the line like the lobelia. So, another product, with the Histoblock, it helps to dilate the bronchioles. It also helps with the digestive tract as well, because a lot of times, you're sick to your stomach, rashes, hives. So Histoblock is, you hear a lot about hives too recently, shingles.
Right.
So the Histoblock helps with shingles as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so, when cells get damaged in the body, they release several different substances that create an inflammatory reaction. And one of those is the histamine. So histamine it's known for its ability to create the inflammation that's associated with the allergic reactions, both respiratory as well as intestinal. So, the cells, that reaction, that's still part of the immune system. So I've, talked a lot before about, the kefir or, kefir, good quality yogurt, the probiotic 11 product. There's also for children, and under the Sunshine Hero line is also a probiotic for children as well. So a lot of it is to keep the immune system healthy. And I've talked about this before on past shows. There's 83,000 different chemicals, poisons, toxins that are in the atmosphere. 83,000. That equate to millions of metric tons of toxins that are in the air that you walk out of your house and you're breathing it.
Wow.
So air purifier in the house, alkaline water, those are really staples that every household should have. And because we have to do things out in the air, so we have to do things outside, and coming and going and getting things done that we need to do. And so, it's one way to put the body into an acid environment is just what we're breathing in alone, and I've talked about that before. So fenugreek and thyme is another product that is really good for allergies and kind of respiratory things, asthma. In the fenugreek, not only in Italian food is it awesome to put fenugreek in it, but what fenugreek does is it helps to increase the mucus to help remove the allergens and the toxins from the respiratory tract. It acts as an expectorant, so it helps trigger the mucus to gather all of this up, but then it also has the ability to be an expectorant. So when you're gathering that, you're able to get rid of it. It helps also with reducing fevers. It has been, likened to quinine. So fenugreek is also something that's really good to use with restless leg syndrome. Typically, that's what the doctors would prescribe, was quinine. You can, for restless leg. You can also get quinine in highly diluted in a homeopathic form as well. But that's good for that restless leg. But fenugreek is also something to use. Fenugreek is it's always used in lung healing formulas. It's used for treating emphysema. It's also used for lung congestion. It's used for allergies, bronchitis, hay fever, respiratory tract infections. It's also good for digestive fluids. It helps to enhance digestion and helps to assimilate more nutrients. It's used for people who are weak and convalescing, who are recovering from illness. It's very, very soothing to the mucous membranes. It helps with any type of gastric ulcers as well. So it's an excellent herb and has a variety of different things that it's used for. And French scientists have shown in research that it helps in general with pancreatic secretions. So it's very good to use diabetics to use fenugreek in their diet. Okay, so because of its stimulation to the pancreas, it also helps to, if the blood sugar level is too high, it helps to bring the blood glucose levels down, and especially with the serum lipid levels in type 1 diabetes. So extremely beneficial herb. Thyme is used for the immune system, and it has antiseptic properties to it. And one thing that it does is it enables the thyme enables the treatment of respiratory infection and throat infections. They respond really quickly to using thyme. It also stimulates the immune system, stimulates the thymus gland. So thyme is the herb specific to the thymus gland, which is what helps to make our antibodies. So it is also something that relieves a lot of intestinal distress. It helps with relaxing the bronchioles. It helps with headaches, sinus congestion, sore throat. It's also extremely high in B complex. So it's one of those herbs that all herbs have a specific, nutrients to those herbs, as well as a lot of the constituents that make them work is what the medical field, what science extracts and removes those active properties and builds other things around them so that they have something that they can patent. So there's still a lot of herbs that still make up the vast majority of the pharmaceutical medications.
And yet that one doctor you talked about earlier said that they have no scientific...
Oh, right, yeah. I'm going to talk about that on the next show with, some more on cancer. I mean, it's a lot of things going on there. There's so much information out there that I want to share. But thyme is happens to be, like valerian root is, and I've talked about this before, is high in magnesium, and magnesium is the relaxing element. So when you take Valium, which years ago, Valium, common drug, everybody's heard of Valium.
Right.
Okay, it was made from valerian root. Then they were able to recreate it synthetically, and that's patented. But one of the patents for years was Valium that was derived from valerian root, and now it's 100% synthetic. So, same with thyme, extremely high in B complex. It's also high in vitamin C. It's also high in vitamin D, and it's a rich source of chromium, iron, and silicon. And it also has magnesium, manganese, and selenium. So that selenium is so good for the immune system. And of course, the recommended daily allowance for selenium is not even enough to keep you breathing. So you need a couple hundred milligrams a day.
Wow.
Pretty sad when the levels that they want you to take aren't really enough to do anything. So another product that is really, really good is Combination 4. And Combination 4 is different. It is not different. It's used for, the 4 seasons, the different seasons of, you can use it year-round. It's one of those things that you don't build up a resistance to. There's Blessed Thistle in that. And Blessed Thistle is a lot of times thought of as just, a female tonic, and it helps to increase milk production when you're nursing. But one of the things that it does is it helps with, Blessed Thistle also helps with mold. So if if there's a problem, the first introduction of mold into our body is antibiotics,
Right.
Because they're made from mold. But and that's an introduction into the system. But Blessed Thistle is also an anti-inflammatory, and it's antibiotic, antiseptic, and it is an expectorant as well. And then the combination has catnip in it, which is also astringent and helps to clean the mucous membranes. And it has antibiotic properties as well, when you analyze it and document what all of the nutrients and stuff are. And it's used for colds, flu, fever as well. It's an antispasmodic. Cats love it. What do they start doing? Rolling and, just really, feeling good. And catnip. Pleurisy is in that, and that's also used as an anti-inflammatory, but it's also a pain reliever. The herb pleurisy is also helpful for promoting, the coughing and being able to move and get your lungs cleared out. So, yerba santa is used to also stimulate mucosal fluids. It shrinks inflamed tissues, and it's also an antiseptic. It's also an effective expectorant. So it's also good with, it's very good with treating asthma, chronic bronchitis, colds, any kind of respiratory ailments, allergies, and sore throats. So there's also the Journal of Natural Products has also documented that it's a pretty potent anti-cancer. It's a natural anti-cancer is yerba santa. So yerba santa dates all the way back to Native Americans who use the leaves. They use the leaves for asthma, colds, rheumatism, tuberculosis. They applied it topically as an antiseptic and used it for healing infected wounds. They used it on bruises. It reduces fever. It's good for pain. Yerba santa also helps with relaxing and preventing muscle spasms that are due to inflammation. So, the essential oil helichrysum is an anti-inflammatory, and it's also something that's very, very good for respiratory illnesses, symptoms, respiratory distress. So that's helichrysum. And the best way to use helichrysum is to take about 20 drops of it, add it to 3 tablespoons of a carrier oil, and apply that, apply that on your chest. Have somebody rub it on your back. So it's into the bloodstream within 3 minutes.
Okay.
After doing that. So one of the things that, helichrysm is known as immortale or everlasting. And it's been a preferred remedy for chronic ailments of, the skin, the respiratory system, the lymphatic system. It's also an essential oil that helps with all respiratory complaints, asthma, chronic bronchitis, even whooping cough. Now, with children, that ratio of 20 drops to 9 tablespoons of a carrier oil, almond oil, extra virgin organic olive oil, coconut oil, fractionated coconut oil. So for a child, instead of 20 drops to 3 tablespoons, you're going to do about 5 drops to the 3 tablespoons. And that's going to bring that down to about 2.5%. About 2.5% solution, which is all you need for under about age 4.
Okay.
Rub their feet. And always rub the feet when you're using essential oils, because the largest pores, our largest pores are on our feet. And so it just pulls it up, absorbs it, pulls it up through the system. Fastest way. Okay. So even with whooping cough, it's helpful in all allergic conditions, helps with the removal of mucus, helps with itchy skin rashes. So helichrysum is something good to use on a skin rash. And I would use coconut oil, would be my choice, and not the fractionated. I would use the coconut oil, full strength, non-GMO, organic, unrefined. And, with that, it's, you have a higher saturation of the medium, the essential fatty acids. It's antiviral, it's antibacterial, it's an anti-inflammatory. So certainly for any type of skin reaction, coconut oil is excellent to have on hand. And by putting some helichrysum in it, it's really going to help with taking care of the root of what's causing that. So it reduces the inflammation. Also prevents, if you put it on scars, they'll heal all up, and you won't have, that scar won't be showing, or it'll be almost completely gone within a certain amount of time. So it's also from a standpoint, the essential oils, when you smell them, it triggers so many responses in the body.
Right.
And it's very good for people who have stuck negative emotions. So it's healing from that emotional standpoint of getting things moving, resolving some of those issues. Probably just by smelling it triggers you to kind of be aware on an emotional level. And just think about what you think about. What happens when you smell certain flowers or a certain smell? It triggers that memory. And sometimes good, sometimes not so good. So helichrysum is something, it's very expensive. So it is absolutely to be used sparingly because of the expense of it. And sometimes, lavender being really reasonable, people will use more drops than they really need.
Right.
And But you just need to remember when, those essential oils are 50 to 70 times stronger than the plant, itself, or the flower itself. So, you just, you need to, you can really miser that, because a very teeny tiny little bit goes a long, long ways. So, negative attitudes, maybe for some of those people is pretty grumpy. Maybe you just need to get like a humidifier, or you need to get the diffuser, the little diffuser, and diffuse, put a couple drops of helichrysum in a diffuser and run that. And it's written that helichrysum can loosen the hardest of attitudes. It helps in restoring compassion for self and others. And it also increases dream activity and awareness to stimulate the right side of the brain. So it's pretty cool with what it has the ability to do. And so, like I said, you might want to be diffusing that. ALJ is another wonderful product that you can find on Kingdom of Healing, and it also comes in an extract, a glycerin extract. So you can have it on hand for children. And it's AL-J, is extremely, extremely good for really getting that mucus to get moving, and as an expectorant, to get everything cleaned up and cleaned out of there. So anyway, so that is today's show, and next week we'll be talking about. I know. Do I have a few more minutes?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I want to mention something here about cookware, and it's one of the things that I have used stainless steel pots and pans for forever. And my great grandmother had a restaurant, and she used a lot of stainless steel. There was some aluminum there, but my mom used stainless steel, and I've used stainless steel cookware for 43 years being on my own, and actually I've got a whole set that I still use that's 32 years old.
Wow.
Every piece of it, Revereware, still in excellent condition, and it's my every single day cookware, and it's still going strong and perfect. But there's a lot of this Teflon, and you wonder, everybody, after you're stirring and cooking in that thing, you're missing a lot of Teflon off of there. And where do you think it goes? It goes in your digestive tract.
Yeah, that doesn't sound appetizing.
No, and three things that you can find on Kingdom of Healing is .com is psyllium, and that's spelled PSYLLIUM, and that's just bulk. There's no nutrients to the psyllium. It's just a bulking. It's fiber. And it's a great way to soak up and gather up and soften the wall, the lining of the intestinal tract, to move things that settle and go through and build up, to soften and get rid of that. EnviroDetox helps with cleaning the bowel. There's charcoal, the activated charcoal in that. Elgin is another thing that helps to neutralize some of the poisons and chemicals, because, not only the Teflon, but aluminum pots and pans. Those leach. That aluminum is soft, and it leaches into your food. Cast iron. cast iron has been used for centuries, but the iron leaches into the food as well. And especially if you're preparing anything that's acidic, like tomatoes. So the cast iron, that iron leaches into the food, and then it can lead to problems by having too high of an iron level that's linked to heart problems, diabetes, cirrhosis of the liver. Avoid those aluminum pans. The other thing is those really expensive anodized aluminum that's marketed as it's so hard that it doesn't leach. It's aluminum. No. Stainless steel is a poor conductor of heat. So you'll always find down on the bottom of, like mine have the copper.
Uh-huh.
And I have some newer stainless steel pans that, I've incorporated. And those have a disc on the bottom, and it's aluminum on the very bottom, because aluminum's a good conductor of heat. And so is copper. So, they're on the bottom of stainless steel, but there's no way that they can make it through the stainless steel and get into your food. So ways to pull those things out of your digestive tract if you happen to cook with those type of utensils is the psyllium, the EnviroDetox, the Algin, and that's ALGIN. So it is, I threw, aluminum pans, any aluminum pans that I had, I threw those away probably 35 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
When I got Hep C, we threw all of our cast iron pans away.
Yeah. You want to, because you don't want to, you don't want to, like, it leaches into the food, and then you can end up with a higher iron level.
It did turn into cirrhosis of the liver. I mean, I can't tell you that it was from those cast iron pans or nothing like that, but I can tell you the events that happened. And
Right. So there's, and now is the time with, doing those detoxes and cleanses and building your immune system back up. And there's, if you go on kingdomofhealing.com, put the product name in the search bar, and that's the way, to find it easily. There's also categories that you can click on, and there's a variety of different cleanses as well that you can go through and to start with, and then of course the probiotics to help build that intestinal your gut good bacteria up. And I do always recommend that adults take 4 of the probiotic 11 before they go to bed, so that they're not there's no continual food and water fluids being used. I don't advise to take those during the daytime. I have people take them at night, so that that probiotic 11, it has a chance to do what it needs to do. It needs to cultivate and populate that good bacteria in the intestinal tract. And, because that's where the majority of the immune system is at. So it just makes more sense to do it when you're not using other things that are going to flush and move that too quickly out of the digestive tract. And the Sunshine Heroes line is for children, and there's also a probiotic there that's a chewable for children. So, and so wanted to share that. Look over your cookware. Get rid of some of those things that are not beneficial to your health and the health of your family. So next week I'm going to talk a little more about cancer, the cons out there, the the charity fraud that's
Right on.
going on.
Let's tackle it.
Yeah. So until next week, you all take care. God bless, and I'll talk to you then.